And we are live. Welcome back, everybody, to Behind the Tool Belt, episode 296. I am your host, Cobb Backer. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition. We will be back after our short intro from our sponsors.
TC Backer. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. TC Backer.
Welcome to Behind the Tool Belt, where the stories are bold, the conversations are real, and the insights come to you live, raw, and uncut. Every week, host Cobb Backer sits down to bring you the stories, the struggles, the lessons learned, and the wins. No filters, no scripts, just the truth. Please welcome your host of Behind the Tool Belt, Cobb Backer.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to Behind the Tool Belt, the podcast where we just don't talk construction. We talk leadership, culture, legacy, and I am your host, Ty Backer, CEO, Chief Energy Officer, and believer that the job gets done right when people are led right. So today, like every week, we're digging into something close to my heart. What it really means to lead people, not just manage them, not just boss them around, but lead, serve, and build and elevate others to take your place someday. This one's for leaders, the up and comers, and anyone who wants to leave something better than the way they found it. So let's jump in. I think leadership. I mean, I know we talk about this every week, but your leadership is only as good as what you tolerate. And we talk about that a lot. And I think we just kind of scratch the surface. And in this episode here, I really kind of want to dig in a little deeper, unpack a few things of some of the little catchphrases that you might hear me say, or some other, inspires or whatever books you're reading and stuff like that. And quite frankly, and I was talking to Vic about this earlier, half of this stuff that I'm spewing on this podcast is things that I've heard, I've read, I've listened to, I've watched, I got to experience, I've got to learn from, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that too, learning and teaching and things like that. But I also have the opportunity to throw my experience and my little spin on things, on how I interpret certain things. May not be the same exact way as other people may interpret stuff, but and it's so crazy too, because it's like, I'll read something several different times and it may mean something to me one time, but then I'll read it again or be like, hey, I didn't know that was in there the last time I read it. Like, when did they put that in there? Or I'm in a different season of my life where it kind of I get to put it to use differently. Like, I didn't really know I could use it that way, or it was actually meant to be used in that way. So again, a lot of this stuff is just stuff that I've regurgitated over the years, but I also want to get a little more granular with it and stuff like that. So anyhow, your leadership is only as good as what you tolerate. And if we allow laziness, negativity, drama, that's what your culture becomes. And as a leader, we set the tone. If you want excellence, demand it. If you want accountability, hold people to it. If you don't want to, have to carry the load and do everything yourself, because I've led that way too, where just get out of my way. And I was just talking to Vic and had a meeting yesterday about explaining to people why we're asking them to go do something. So if I don't want to have to just do everything myself, I can't be harsh about it. Right. If I'm going to hold them accountable, and we're striving for, not necessarily excellence, but progress rather than perfection, I can't be harsh about it. I can't be a dick about it. But the biggest thing is that I got to be clear, right? I got to articulate the message, the vision. I have to be clear about that. And here's the thing. Leadership starts with me. Leadership starts with you. Put in the work, develop yourself, right? Then you'll be able to develop others. It's just like anything else, right? If a baseball coach wasn't good at baseball, he probably shouldn't be coaching. Now, I'm not saying all great baseball players are good coaches either. It takes a certain skill set and a certain mind and patience and tolerance to be, a good coach, a good teacher, a good mentor, a good steward of people. And I know firsthand it's not easy. And when somebody talks about, put in the work and develop yourself, and it's like a lot of that stuff is I got to practice patience. I got to practice tolerance. And really where that starts at home. That starts with me. It starts with how I treat my family. It starts with how I treat my neighbors. It starts with how I'm treating the person in line at the grocery store in front of me. Am I being an impatient, raving lunatic with the old couple that I'm following on a Sunday afternoon, trying to cut in front of them? And I'm beeping the horn. I'm flashing my headlights. And it's like, get out of the way. And it's like, really, I'm not going to get there that much earlier. But I didn't realize I was that person until I saw it in somebody else. I was like, oh man, that was uncomfortable, right? I'm sitting in the passenger seat. I'm co-piloting. I'm watching this person experience road rage. And I'm like, damn, do I look like that? Man, that was ugly. Christ, and quite frankly, it was embarrassing. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, wow, I led my whole entire life that way. I led our team that way. I led my family that way. And I thought it meant something. I thought that control. I thought it gave me control. I thought it gave me power because my dick was bigger than everybody else in the room. And I was going to show everybody. Right. Well, then you feel about 2 inches tall about 5 minutes later, at least for me. I have a conscience and I feel like shit. And then because I feel like shit, half of it is because I know I owe an amends. Man, I am so sick and tired of apologizing for my behavior and the way that I acted and responded to people and made so many situations so far worse than they had to be, right? We were just talking about this before the show, right? If I would have handled myself, because this is the thing, it's not the circumstances or the event that defines the person. It's your response to it. And your true colors come out. Your true colors will come out. If I panicked and hit the panic button every time the house caught on fire, dude, nobody would want to follow me. Think about that for a minute. Does anybody want to follow somebody that's out of control, that's neurotic, that suffers from neurosis? And trust me, I suffer from all these things: fear, paranoia, which is hidden awareness. But you got to know how to use them. And it's taken me a lifetime, and I mean a lifetime, to harness those energies, because that's what they are. They're energies. Okay. They're not bad. It's not, it's motivators. It's indicators. It's your body telling you something is wrong. Okay. That doesn't mean I have to act out. It doesn't mean because I had a long night and I didn't sleep well that I have to come home, or come to work and everything is going great, but then I treat everybody like shit. Okay. And take the wind out of their sails. Everything that I'm preaching on this podcast, everything I just told them yesterday goes out the window. Your trust bank starts to deplete. And we've talked about the trust bank before here. Okay. Build that trust bank up, because sometimes you will have to take a withdrawal from that trust bank, but you got to build that trust up. You got to stay consistent. People need to know what they're walking into, right? And I do know for a fact that I say that I have an open door policy, but I can guarantee you, my nephew had to break some bad news to me today. I'm pretty sure he was probably scared because he had brought somebody with him, right? In case I threw something or whatever. But mind you, this is my nephew who's known me for 49 years. Okay. He's worked beside me. He's worked in front of me. He's worked behind me. He's worked for me. Okay. So he knows the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if anybody should feel probably a little insecure about coming and knocking on my door, it would be that man. God bless his soul. But he still loves me. He still comes here. And I think he's seen the development in me. And matter of fact, I know he's commended me for my efforts in the growth and the leaps and bounds. And I hope that I can be an example for him on how to lead his household and his department and all the great things that he does for us here at TC Backer Construction. But anyway, you got to put the work in, man. Right. And that's what I mean. You got to be aware. It's almost like self-mastery. You got to, what makes you tick? What pisses you off? And it's like Vic and I were talking earlier. It's like, we have moments at times. So it's like the first question we got to ask ourselves, have I been stuffing? Because when there's something wrong with you. If something is bothering you about somebody else, it's because there's something wrong with you. Not necessarily because of them, because you can remove yourself from that situation. You really can. You can walk away. You can go for a walk. You can go for a bike ride. You can do whatever, take 10 deep breaths, whatever the case might be, because there's a situation where you may make it worse than it needs to be and blow it all out of proportion. So you can't expect your team to grow if you're not growing. You can't pour into people from an empty cup, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You got to read, you got to learn, you got to stay humble, and you got to remain teachable. Got to remain teachable, especially with your self behaviors, and be the wise man and learn from others, right? Isn't that what they say? I think a smart man learns from his own mistakes, but a wise man learns from others' mistakes. It's taken me a lifetime to watch other people, okay? Because I can't identify my own shortcomings and character defects and all that stuff. I have to actually see it in somebody else. And half the time I don't like that person, right? It's like, and I can't put my finger on why. I just don't like that dude. I don't like that chick over there. At the end of the fucking day, it's because I see myself in them. It's like, I don't trust them. Oh, maybe I don't trust myself. Why? Why is that? I don't know. I better look into that. Vic, we might have to have a conversation about that after this. We could probably turn that into a whole freaking podcast right there by itself. But remain a student, right? What you have been taught, pass it on. Knowledge is only powerful when it is shared. And the next part, right? This is big. All right. This is big. It's not about you. None of this is about you, unfortunately. Kids out there that want to be a self-serving, self-preserving, self-righteous person. Unfortunately, kid, I'm going to pop the fucking balloon right now and let the wind out of your sails. It's not about you. It's about them. It's about every Tom, Dick, and Harry, aunt, uncle, brother, sister, mother, brother, father-in-law. Doesn't matter. We were put on this earth to serve, and I'm not a Bible bumper. Unfortunately, I've lied. I've came to you an alcoholic, a drunk, a no good. And today I come to you as a father, a grandfather, and hopefully a trusted significant other. Okay. So I've been through the ringer. I've put myself through the ringer, and I have put everybody. I've hurt those that I love dearly the most over the years. So trust me, I am not a saint. I'm not sitting here on my soapbox right now, dribbling my lip saying how great I am, because there go I. The next thing I'll know, we'll turn the cameras off. I'll go into my office. Somebody will come in and they'll piss me off, and I'll act out. So, but I got to learn from that. What set me off? What's going on? What am I not taking care of? What am I stuffing? Right? So we got to, it's not about getting attention. And I think that's what a lot of us attention getters want to be, the man, want to be the big man, right? I'm the boss. Right. And then they put a nice, pretty little shiny bow on it and call themselves a leader, and I've done it so much, but it's about the opportunities you create. Okay. It's not about what you gain. It's about what you give. Okay. I'm going to say that again. It's not about what you gain. It's nothing to do with what I'm going to gain. Things just tend to happen tenfold when you give. You got to give it. You got to give it away to keep it. And a few of us, I'm sure some of us that are watching this right now, I think my predazone's kicked in. Anyhow, now here's something that we miss sometimes, right? We got to find out where they are on their journey. Okay. Sometimes you got to get down off your soapbox. Sometimes you got to climb down off that mountaintop, and you got to know your people. You got to talk to them. Got to know your children, right? You got to talk to them. Got to learn their goals. Don't stand on the mountaintop yelling for them to climb on up here. Get up here. Or you can't drag them up either. No one that's willing, you can't drag them, right? Come down off your mountaintop, walk with them. If they're willing to meet you halfway, okay? Walk with them. Be a guide. A guide doesn't walk the journey for them, okay? We don't walk the journey for them. If there's people that you can surround yourself with that are willing to meet or exceed the distance between where you want them to go, then they're the ones. And Vic is a prime example. Chris Baker, Glenn, the list goes on. Sam, there's so many beautiful, wonderful people. Fortunate, very fortunate to be a guide for these people, a guide that hasn't did the work for them, a guide that simply just guided and walked with them on this journey, right? Because every day we're on a journey, right? But they don't leave them lost either. I can't leave them lost, right? I got to lead with direction. I got to have direction. I got to have my house in order to do this. We lead with care. And remember, we can show people where to look, but we can't always show them what to see, right? We got to give them perspective. But we got to let them grow on their own and understand on their own. It's just like when I read something, like I just mentioned earlier, it's like, I'll read something and the way that my perspective, the way that I perceived it at that moment, okay, may not be really the intentions of the writer or the content creator. But if I listen to it long enough and if it strikes my interest, I usually get something out of it, something different each time I read it, right? But I got to give people perspective, okay? But I got to let them grow and own their own understanding of things, just like I have. I've been given that. And as we are doing this, right, we are giving our team something to own. Okay. Giving them something to take pride in, a challenge, a responsibility, a big task, letting them take the lead, asking for their input, watch them rise to the occasion. And when they do, show them that they crushed it. Don't say it, show them. You got to show people, right? I'm not saying a text message that you did a great job isn't sufficient for some people, but I guess that's where, who was that author? Gary, he wrote a book called Love Language. Gary, and I know Jana knows it. We actually got to sit in on one of his things. And this is where I learned some of this from, is that you got to learn people's telltales. Okay. You got to learn their love language. Some people need public notoriety and a pat on the ass every 2.3 seconds. And sometimes that can be very draining and very tiring. But as long as you know that, about that person, that you just got to make sure you circle back every now and then. But then other people don't like that public exposure. They like the more behind closed doors. And not everybody is money motivated. It's not always about the amount of money or threatening to take money or rewarding with money all the time, especially if you've articulated the message well enough to, like, you know, if we all can row in the same direction, at some point in time, we will all be lucrative. So it's not always about the money, but make sure you're challenging people. Make sure you're giving them enough responsibility. Make sure you're giving them charge of huge tasks, right? And giving them the ownership in that and allowing room for mistakes. Because listen, the first half of what I've just talked about was learning from my own mistakes, but most importantly, trying to learn from other people's mistakes once I see my character defects and shortcomings in other people. And I'm not saying that's the right way. That's probably the wrong way to do it. The best way to do it is realize that you're doing wrong. You're saying the wrong thing. You're doing the wrong thing. And I heard something the other day. I think it was Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett said, if you wanted to increase, I don't know how he put it. It wasn't necessarily wealth, but if you wanted to be successful, you need to, 50% of your success comes from learning how to articulate your message and learning how to speak to get what you want, right? To get your message across to people. If you want to be 50% more successful, and I'm going to sum it up that way. I'm sure I freaking butchered it up, but essentially, and I've once I've heard that, I don't know where I read it. Should probably find that someplace and read it again. But once I've learned that, I realized how many times I shit the bed because I didn't respond with a good response. I didn't have the right words to put together, or I didn't give myself enough time to think about it to give it a response. And I've also done where I have responded too quickly. and did the old knee-jerk reaction and articulated the wrong message, that I should have handled it completely differently and lost big deals and stuff like that, and not looking at the big picture and creating a partnership and a long-term relationship and not taking it on the chin. Either I've really screwed up those things. But getting back to, empowering people, we need to provide the tools. Okay. Providing the tools for their success isn't about control. It's about empowerment. Okay. Let go of the need to manage every step. And I think I've done pretty good with a lot of that over the years, because I've gone to the extreme too, where I've completely let go of the wheel, and never followed back up. I've never, critiqued or just kind of like, I don't remember what the opposite of delegating is, but I've delegated, but then I've never came back to it. But then, or let's say I came back to it a long time later and found out like it wasn't done to my liking after it was already completed, and acted like a complete butthead over that. But I think over the years of being a control freak, and trust me, just scratch the surface and it'll rear its ugly head at any given time. But giving up control is been a hard one for me over the years, and not trying to control the outcomes, right? And learning, this is another good one, is figuring out the controllables over the non-controllables, and knowing the wisdom, figuring out the wisdom to know the difference. Okay. That is something I pray for. I pray for that. The strength, the courage, the motivation, the clarity, the insight, and the wisdom to know the difference. Can I control this outcome? Can I control the situation? Is this a time where I need to step in? Or is this the time where I just need to kind of let things unfold, and the outcome will be what the outcome is? But I can tell you 9 chances out of 10, it's because of a decision I didn't make a while back, is probably why I'm in the situation that I'm in right now. So there's a lot of times where it's like, okay, I need to get off my dead ass. And this is the thing. If I'm in a position or situation that I don't like, then I need to get off my dead ass and do something about it. But anyhow, the control thing, not feeling the need to be in control, is a sign of, maturity, I think. And we talked about that last week with Deshaun. I think that was last week. But the maturity in our leadership, right? But we can't forget this, right? People do what they see. Okay. You can't just say the right things. You have to live them. Okay. Be the model of consistency, work ethic, and humility. Be a leader and a great teacher. That means being patient. Okay. Correcting with care, encouraging often. One of our jobs as leaders is to groom others to become better leaders. And I'm going to give you an example. And again, unfortunately, Vic, I'm picking on you a lot here. Okay. We're revamping some marketing efforts. We're trying some different outlets, and big shout out to David Bruno. I see that he's in here, man. Big shout out to David. I miss you, buddy. But so he was here yesterday, but so Vic, myself, John, we meet weekly, and we discuss. We try to stay out in front of what's working, what's not working when it comes to advertising, internally, externally, marketing. The brand, is the brand getting out there? Are enough people carrying the message? Right, not just us, not just me, not me screaming from the rooftops. Woo, TC Backer, let's go! Right, even though I like to do that, but it's better when it comes from somebody else. So. Long story short, Vic killing himself, super excited about this 30-second commercial that he did. And years ago, I would have probably just mostly encouraged, like, man, it's great. Let's go with it. But I chose to kill him with kind candor. And knowing Vic as well as I do, he was going to, and again, me practicing with Vic. Vic is a lot of times my test dummy to practice some of my character defect corrections and, shortcoming, corrections that I try to make. And I bounce a lot of, Vic is the man. So I said to him, I said, dude, this is what everyone else is doing. And I didn't say that because I knew that would get his goat, and he knows we're much more than what everyone else is doing. But it was, I knew when I said that he would pick up what I was putting down, and I knew I had to articulate the message in a way where he knew it was coming from the heart, that I know that he's got more in him. And if I pushed him in the right direction, he would be able to overcome the status quo. Okay. And then we followed up. Long story short, that conversation went great. He was picking up what I was putting down. I saw his eyes light up. I saw the light bulb above his head. I saw the halo appear and the angel wings pop out of his back, not just because he's slamming Red Bulls, but he was ready to kick ass and take names. So today we followed back up on that. And all I had to do was just plant a couple little seeds. He watered them. I didn't even have to, because fortunately I've been gracious or blessed enough to have Vic in my life. And he comes back and he has got this most radical idea ever that just blew my freaking mind. Okay. Like he took what I had asked, right, and suggested, and has just run with it. And it's going to be amazing. It really is. But without the right tools, without the right resources, without the empowerment, and without me being scared and confident in my own abilities to be able to let him know that I felt like he had more in him. Right. And I think that's where a lot of times we get hemmed up, because we're worried about people's short-term emotions over our long-term goals. Okay. Hi. So yeah, I'm still here, right? Okay, good. Anyhow, I think that for both of us, and because of us being able to take, I don't even want to call it constructive criticism, because that's not what it was at all. To have a conversation, an adult, professional conversation with people. Okay. I think that's where, especially in the workplace, maybe even at home, I think sometimes we're so terrified that we're going to hurt people's feelings because we see something that we may not like, or we see something that we feel like they could do better. And I really think it's in the messaging. I really think it's how it's delivered. Okay. Not in a non-controlling way, in a very mature, professional, friendly way. Like, hey man, did you think of this? Did you think of that? I don't know how I spun it to him, but I don't remember, but I felt like it was good. It was good growth for both of us. And fortunately I got Vic in my life, and I can't say that enough, but anyhow, yeah, you're welcome. People do what they see, right? So maybe you'll learn something from that and be able to have maybe not so much an uncomfortable conversation, but feel more comfortable having those conversations with people where sometimes he might see more. It could be in your children. Like, I see that you have more in you than this or whatever. But how I think the delivery and I think storytelling too sometimes helps a lot too in that. So, but anyhow, people do what they see, right? I could be up here running my mouth, not following through, not doing this, not showing up consistently, being a horrible parent, and preaching from, the mountaintops that, you need to do better, when in fact, I'm not doing these things myself. But I'd like to think that I try to do a little bit better than I did yesterday. And I know that we're not all perfect, and we're not going to be perfect. And I think that's intentional. I think that, when you're in a good season of your life, or even a bad season, it seems like the most devastating things turn out to be a blessing sometimes. So it's weird how that kind of works out, but, you can't just say the right things. You have to live them. Be the model of consistency, work ethic, and humility, right? Be a leader, be a great teacher, right? And the only way that you can become a great teacher is by making mistakes and personal development, and, and continuously pushing yourself to do great things, and patience, right? Like, that means being patient, correcting with care, encouraging often, right? One of our jobs as leaders is to groom others to become better leaders, right? That's our legacy. Vic and I were talking about legacy and a while back, but see, this is where I think we sometimes, when we're kind of in a negative headspace, like 1,000 years from now, people aren't ever going to think about, that's the catch-22 about legacy. Your legacy, right, is the people that you build will outlive the title you held. Okay. You'll never get the credit for it. I will never get the credit for those that came to work here and have been taught all and have given the tools, the resources, the lessons that may go out and do the same thing that we're doing today. We'll never get the credit for that. We'll never, ever. But the impact, this is the important thing. This is where the real flex is. Okay. The important thing is that I hope they leave here and make $10 million and impact 100 million people. I don't need the credit for that. I don't. I'm not saying this to get the credit for that. I'm not mentioning any names. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, unfortunately for them, that's my legacy. So if that sounded selfish or self-centered, but that it will live on for 1,000 years. The people I impact today, and then the people that they impact, and the ripple effect, it infinitum. It's forever. The ripple effect, it never stops until it gets to the other side. If there is even another side, you know what I mean? So, and while you're building them, celebrate them. And this is where I'm still kind of struggling a little bit, I think, is like celebrating the wins and really getting out there and celebrating their wins, you know, it became evident to me, you know, we get some awards, we achieve a lot of great things with the entire team here. We get just, the list goes on. I think we won best roofing contractor 4 years in a row. Then the very first time we did that, it's like, yeah, we took a couple pictures, right? But I think I didn't hide it, but like, I don't even know if I opened the award. I think it just stayed in a cardboard box because I thought I was being humble. Okay. I didn't realize how selfish and self-centered that actually was to the entire team and my family by not allowing them to celebrate, by showing them, hey guys, look at this award, hold it, touch it, feel it, take a picture with it, post it on social media. Right. And again, I feel like I can do a lot better job of celebrating, because that's where it is. So we're hiding. I'm not being humble. I'm hiding. I don't know why. Is it because I think I'm less than? I feel like, you know, I didn't deserve that. Well, they do, even if I don't, even if I didn't deserve that. I'm taking that away from you. I'm taking that away from every individual that made that award possible. And it takes a lot of people. It takes the Collins, it takes the Masons, it takes the Jeremy Benders, it takes the Laurens, the Glens, the Howies, the Denny's, it takes all of them, or else we wouldn't be. And that's voted by our peers. That's York County did that for us. That's our brand. That's our brand. They spoke for us. They gave us best roofing contractor 4 years in a row. Okay. So we got to do something with that. Okay. Little shindig, little party, little cookout, little pancake breakfast, something. So we got to celebrate it. We got to celebrate often. We got to win. We got to win, right? We got to create winners, right? We're not developing losers here. We don't want to surround ourselves around a bunch of losers, right? Just like Deshaun said, if I surround myself around 5 losers, I'm going to be the 6th loser. But if we're creating leaders and winners, and I'm surrounding myself around 5 other leaders, I'm going to be the 6th leader, right? And we got to remember that. We got to take that shit to heart, right? We just can't say we got to live it. We got to live this thing, right? So anyhow, our legacy. Go ahead. Is there a question? Pop that thing up there. Let me see this thing. Ben Catman, question from the back. Is leadership born or taught? Now, I'm not saying that there isn't born leaders, but it is definitely taught through experience. You may be born with certain attributes or character, humility, humbleness, giving, caring, right? And they can be double-edged swords. But I think through time, and I think through experience, and I think first off, you got to decide, what kind of leader do you want to be? Who inspired you in your life? Who made you feel good about what it was you were doing, even though you knew you weren't good at it? Who was the person that made you feel like shit, even when you were winning? And decide who you want to be is probably the first step in the leadership journey. Who do I want to lead by? Not just regurgitation out of textbooks, not regurgitation of 30-second soundbite, quick short form reels, but your experience on how people made you feel? Okay. Isn't that what it's really about? How did I make somebody feel? How did somebody make me feel? Decide which type of leadership style, and it can be a mix match, different types of leadership styles. I'm just sharing my experience and truly my experience only in any of this journey that I'm on. And I've been really studying this thing, and I'm sharing my experiences and my belief on some of these things. I'm going to give myself an out here. I may not have the same perspective on some of these things later in life, in a different season of my life, but I can tell you what has gotten me here, and I can tell you what's kept us relevant. But I can honestly say, I don't know if it'll get us where we want to go. So some of my feelings and thoughts and insights and experiences may change and evolve, but see, that's the ticket. So to answer your question, it is taught, it is learned, because you need to continuously learn. It's what it's about. So giving others credit. Hopefully I answered your question, Ben. It's a great question, by the way. Giving others credit, especially when credit is due. Okay. Even sometimes when it's not. I know that sounds kind of like an oxymoron, but if you know your people and you know them well enough and you know their love languages and all this good stuff and what motivates them and what keeps them inspired, sometimes somebody just needs to hear something good, even when everything's going to shit. Okay. It can be very painful, but even sometimes when it's not, you got to give them credit. Shine the spotlight on them. And when things are wrong, and this is the hard part, right? The hard part is only take the credit for the failures. Okay. And the credits for the wins, that's on them. That's, let them own that, right? Protect your team. That's real leadership. And speak with what I call kind candor. I told you we'd circle back to kind candor. Be kind, but frank. Okay. Be clear. You don't have to be a butthead. Say what's needed to be said, but do it with heart. Okay. Now, here's where it gets hard. Embracing them, even when it's painful. Okay. You might have someone in a role that is burning them out. Okay. They're not thriving well. You see it, but don't want to move them. Okay. Because you need them there. They've been loyal. Okay. But sometimes the best thing we can do is shift them to a different position, move them. Okay. Sometimes you didn't even know that you needed the position you or they made for themselves. And sometimes they didn't even know that they had that skill. Okay. That, again, experience. I wasn't born, okay, to see that, right? It's through experience and watching from my own experiences of getting burnout, okay, and not thriving and not doing well in a position, even though I felt they needed to be in that position because we didn't have anybody else, okay? But I can't be so short-sighted. I have to have the foresight that if I want these people, if they thrived at one point in time in that position, how will they thrive someplace else, even though we don't have anybody to fill that position? But I'm thinking very short-sightedly because there's probably someone sitting behind them that could fill those shoes just as well, if not better. Okay. New set of eyes, new set of glasses, right? Different motivation now because they got a push up in status. They got a new opportunity and that good stuff. So I've been there, did that, I've seen it, done it. I've seen people create their own positions throughout the company. But again, that's getting back to surrounding yourself around great freaking people, right? And at the end of the day, the question isn't how much control do I have, right? It's how many people have I raised up to lead after me, right? That's what it comes down to. So anyhow, I think I'm going to wrap this up here in about 40 minutes, man. If this podcast lit you up, good. That means you're ready. You're ready to lead differently. You're ready to serve first. You're ready to pass the baton to others and be proud of what they do with it. You don't have to wear a crown to be a king. You just have to build a kingdom others want to grow in. Thanks for tuning in to Beyond the Tool Belt. Be sure to like, share, love, subscribe, do all those crazy things. And may the force be with you. Till next week, I'll catch ya.